Hey everyone, Blue Goblin here with a special comic book movie review here. I am here to review X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, before I get started, I want to let everybody know, I'm not going to ruin the whole movie for you in case you haven't seen it yet, but there will be minor spoilers here and there in this review. Okay, there's going to be minor spoilers at best, so if you haven't seen this movie yet and you don't want to be spoiled on anything at all, then I don't recommend you watching this video. But if you don't mind being spoiled, or if you already have seen the movie and you just want to hear what I thought about it, then go ahead and stick around, and who knows, you might enjoy me running my mouth. Alright, let's talk about this movie. I was so excited to go see this movie to begin with. My expectations were high for this because Days of Future Past continues to be one of my absolute favorite X-Men stories of all time. You know, and I'm not just saying that because it's a popular story and a lot of other people say it's a really good story. No, I genuinely mean it. It is a good story. But I'm not here to talk about Days of Future Past from the comics. I'm here to talk about the movie. Now, the movie, was it a 100% match to the comics? Of course not. But now I've gotten past that whole nitpick. It's like, oh, the movie should match what it said in the comics. I'm like, no, it shouldn't. I now look at it this way. This is the movie universe. Not just for Marvel, but for DC as well. It doesn't have to be a 100% match from the comic books, because if you copy the story directly 100% from the comic books, then what's the point of watching the movie, since it'll make it 100% predictable? You've already read it in the comics, so you know what's going to happen if they were to directly, literally copy everything from the comics and just put it on the movies. It wouldn't be any fun, trust me. So now I look at it that way from now on, you know, and trust me, it makes the movies much, much easier to enjoy. And that's what I got with this movie. This movie starts off right away with the darkness. You know, there is some minor nitpickings in this movie, especially one with Kitty Pryde. There's something that Kitty Pryde does in here that I didn't know she could do, but like I said, this is the movie verse, so I'm going to roll with it. I think thought it added to the story. Kitty plays a much, much bigger role in this movie than she did in X3. And it's a very, what's the term I should use here? It's a very, very important role, and it's much more fitting to the character. It allows this character to shine a lot more. Now, if I had to nitpick some more, I didn't like how Rogue got maybe 10 seconds of screen time. I didn't agree with that, and I was kind of 50-50 on the ending, but I'm not going to spoil the ending. But let's talk about this. One thing I will minorly spoil is that Wolverine is one of the main focuses of this movie, since it is him that goes back in the past to 1973 to try and stop the Sentinels from being created. They send Wolverine back since, you know, he can heal from being torn apart by being sent that far backward. And I thought that actually made sense. You know, his healing factor can be used in a different way besides just physical. He can also use his healing factor for a mental wounding, if you will. And I thought that was a nice touch. But with Wolverine, there was more storytelling than there was action from him. And I think that's a bit of a plus, because if you take a character and just typecast his or her development toward one specific aspect of a movie, it starts to make that character kind of predictable. And I actually like the fact that they went with more storytelling and more exposition for Wolverine than they did with the action. Trust me, he does get some action in here, but they do more of a focus on using him as a main storyteller of this movie, and I actually applaud that. Who would have thought that it was him that was trying to talk some sense into young Charles Xavier? You know, young Charles Xavier is just torn apart. I mean, he's basically hit rock bottom in this movie. Now, I'm not going to go into details as to why. You're just going to have to see it and see it for yourself. The stuff they did with Beast was alright. I actually enjoyed Beast's role in here. Interesting twist on how his powers work and everything, but then again, it's not exactly original since another franchise character of Marvel seems to share that same aspect. Hulk! Excuse me. I had something in my throat. But to me, one of the more impressive characters was one that I wasn't expecting much impressions from, and that's Quicksilver. Quicksilver's power was beautifully showcased in here. He doesn't have much time in this movie, I'll give that away, but he does have a couple of scenes in here that make his character look awesome and look very, very important to the story. Now, there's some things that are hinted at about Quicksilver's past, but nothing's directly said, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But when they find young Magneto, excuse me, everybody's telling Wolverine before he gets sent back, he's like, okay, you got to find us and convince us to, do this, this, and this, and this. And they go, okay, then you got to find Magneto. And they're like, well, where was Magneto back in 1973? And Sir Ian McKellen's old Magneto was like, it's complicated. Oh boy, is it complicated. Where they find young Magneto and why they found him where they found him just blew my mind. I'm like, woo! Really? Really? Eric did that? Oof. But another character that really shines in this movie is Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. God damn, this girl worked it as Mystique. Much better than she did in First Class. Much, much better. Much better role. Probably one of the most important characters of this entire story, and Jennifer Lawrence did a magnificent job as Mystique. Magnificent job. We also get to learn what Bolivar Trask is doing in this movie to other mutants, and we sadly learn the truth about former mutants from First Class, and it's pretty nasty. Also, we get to learn there are also, in case you haven't seen this movie yet, I'm warning you now, there are parts in this movie that when you see them, it's gonna, and me and my girlfriend went to go see this just the other day, and there were scenes in this movie that made us go, oh man, oh man, made us go, oh shit. There are moments like that, and some moments in here, especially with the mutants from the future. Okay, there are moments in here that are really tough to watch, so you have been warned. Okay, but there were plenty of twists in this story where, Magneto is doing something, and young Magneto is doing something that he feels is for the right reason, and he believes it'll save mutant kind, but it comes back and bites him in the ass, and it bites him in the ass hard. Now, let me talk about the Sentinels, both the 1973 Sentinels and the future Sentinels. They looked awesome. It's like, you're not going to get the Sentinels from the animated series. You're not going to get the Sentinels from the comic books, so just deal with it. Just deal with what you get. At least now we finally get the Sentinels. And I got to say, the Sentinels in this movie, both in the past and in the future, look damn awesome. Just damn awesome. The Sentinels in the future are freakish as hell. They are not to be fucked with. They are really, really well put together and really well constructed. They have a look to them that give off a threatening presence just by looking at them, and that is also a big plus. But my only nitpick about the Sentinels from the future is that they're nearly invincible, and it's like, okay, if the mutants have such a tough time dealing with them, how did so many of them survive if the Sentinels were this damn near unbeatable? It kinda, I know it's supposed to make the mutants look like the underdog, but then again, it also makes you wonder, how does this make any sense that some of these mutants were able to survive this long if these Sentinels were that damn powerful? You know, you just got to think about it that way. I liked the mutants that they had in the future. We got to see our old friend Bobby Drake, Iceman, very well matured and very much better in control of his ice powers. We got to see Kitty Pryde. We got to see Bishop. We got to see Storm. Halle Berry returns as Storm. We got to see characters like Warpath, like Blink. We got to see Sunfire. We got to see Sunfire. And let's see. Hope I'm not missing anybody. But Bishop was done very well. He didn't have much as far as dialogue, but what they did with him, I actually enjoyed. Oh God, I want to keep talking about it without possibly spoiling it. I don't think there was a Stan Lee cameo in here, but then again, I really don't fucking care. If Stan Lee cameo's in it, great. If he doesn't, then that's whatever. He does it. Who cares? I read somewhere on the internet that there's a lot of fans bitching that Stan Lee didn't do a cameo. Who fucking cares? If he wants to, let him do it. If he doesn't want to, then fine. Don't let him cameo if he doesn't want to. You know, I don't know what the reasons are behind Stan Lee's missing cameo in here, but what the fuck ever. Wow, but it's like I want to keep talking about more of the main story. You know, young Charles, you know, you can just see the emotional pain on his face, not only being betrayed by Eric, but after suffering so many losses in his young life. And of all people, Wolverine is the one that snaps him back into reality, but he also gets a pep talk from somebody else, and I'm not going to ruin who that was, because that was awesome. And, you know, just to see the sacrifices and the pain that young Charles is willing to go through to, you know, help the mission and everything is really, really good. Very good for storytelling and very good for drama. It's not the best stuff I've ever seen, but for what I got, I was impressed. I was happy with the storytelling. But like I said, once we get to the future, that's when stuff gets really gruesome and really tough to watch. However, with the ending, I'm not completely fond of the ending because it's the ending, it is what it is, but at the same time, I don't want to give it away, but the ending of the story just felt a little bit like a cop-out to me. It really did. I just, you know, saw who Wolverine, some of the people that Wolverine was seeing and talking to at the end of this movie. I'm like, I don't know. As of right now, while I am filming this right now, I don't know if I'm completely sold on it, but all in all, I'd say it was a great movie, and yes, there is a bonus scene at the end of the credits, but I'm not going to say a goddamn thing about it. Just watch it and enjoy. But yeah, great movie, not perfect, but an awesome, awesome movie. I actually liked this better than I did Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man's my favorite character, my favorite comic book character of all time, period, bar none. And that's saying something. On a scale of 1 star to 5 star, 1 star being shit, 5 star being perfect, I give this movie, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a 4. I honestly was that entertained by it. For those of you who give this movie 1 star, or 2 stars, or maybe 3 stars at best, then that's fine. Like I always said, opinions will vary. What's the most important aspect about any comic book or any movie is, did you like it? Did it entertain you? And if it did, how much did it do? How good did it do? Or how bad did it do? For me, this was a solid watch. I can't wait till this comes out on DVD because odds are I'm gonna be buying it, even if it does come out on Netflix. This was an awesome movie. Like I said, it wasn't perfect. There are some nitpicks in there, but I'm not gonna get into too much detail about it, because I don't want to ruin this movie for anybody. So there you go. There's my minor spoilers in my X-Men Days of Future Past movie review. I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this movie, what you thought worked, what you thought didn't work, what you think about the casting, what you think about the characters, the story, anything. What did you think about this movie? So please subscribe, and Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see y'all later.